Welcome back to another episode of Agentic AI, the future of intelligent systems. Today, I want to start with a strange question. What happens when access to intelligence changes? Not the application, not the interface, not the cloud platform, the intelligence itself. The intelligence your systems depend on, the intelligence your agents reason through, the intelligence quietly becoming part of how work gets done. Because perhaps we are entering a new phase of AI, one where the biggest challenge may no longer simply be building intelligent systems, but maintaining reliable access to intelligence itself. Now, at first, this sounds unusual. After all, most of us think about AI models like software. You choose one, you integrate it, you build around it, and it simply remains there. Predictable, available, stable, much like infrastructure. But agentic AI may challenge that assumption. Because agents behave differently from traditional software. A chatbot answering one question? That is one thing. But an agent? An agent reasons, plans, retries, uses tools, coordinates actions, makes decisions, sometimes continuously, sometimes invisibly. And increasingly, organizations are beginning to depend on this intelligence layer for everyday operations. Which raises a very important question. What happens when access changes? Now, this may sound theoretical, until suddenly it becomes real. Recently, there were discussions across the AI ecosystem following access changes impacting certain frontier AI models, including newer releases such as Fable 5 and Mythos 5 from Anthropic. For some users, the initial assumption felt understandable. Perhaps this is temporary. Capacity constraints, platform demand, a scaling issue. That would not be surprising given how rapidly frontier AI adoption is accelerating. But the broader developments pointed toward something more strategic. Reports suggested that access to some advanced frontier models may have been affected by evolving US export control measures tied to national security considerations. And stepping back, perhaps this should not feel surprising. Because as AI capabilities advance, frontier models are increasingly being viewed not only as software products, but also as strategic capabilities. Capabilities that governments may naturally evaluate through broader lenses: security, responsible deployment, long term societal impact, strategic competitiveness. This is not necessarily about limiting innovation or slowing progress. Perhaps it reflects something deeper, a recognition that advanced intelligence systems are becoming increasingly consequential. And history has shown us something important. When technologies become foundational, the conversation changes. Semiconductors, telecommunications, cloud infrastructure. Eventually, they stop being viewed simply as products and begin being treated as strategic infrastructure. Perhaps frontier AI is beginning to enter that category. But here is where this becomes deeply relevant for agentic AI. Because agents do not simply call a model once, they depend on intelligence continuously for reasoning, for planning, for memory, for orchestration, for decision making. And when the intelligence layer changes, the behavior of the system changes too. Quietly, sometimes invisibly. An agent optimized around one model may suddenly behave differently tomorrow. Capabilities shift, performance evolves, costs change, regional availability changes, policies evolve, and suddenly organizations confront an uncomfortable strategic question. Is our AI strategy too dependent on a single source of intelligence? Because perhaps one of the hidden risks of the agentic era is this: intelligence concentration risk. We spend enormous time discussing model performance, benchmarks, cost as safety, latency, but maybe There's another question leaders should start asking. What happens if access changes? Can our agents adapt? Can they switch models? Can workflows continue? Can systems gracefully degrade? Or does intelligence simply stop? And perhaps this introduces a new strategic principle for the future of agentic AI. Resilient intelligence architecture, not building systems around one model, but designing systems around adaptability, multimodal strategies, fallback reasoning, smaller specialized models, open ecosystems, local execution where appropriate, the ability to continue functioning even when the frontier shifts underneath. Because maybe the future of AI strategy will not simply be who has access to the smartest model, it may increasingly become who built the most resilient access to intelligence. After all, history teaches us something important about infrastructure. Dependency creates fragility, diversification creates resilience, and perhaps agentic AI is quietly teaching us the same lesson. The future of intelligent systems may not only be about building smarter agents, it may also be about building agents resilient to changing access to intelligence. Because maybe the real question is no longer which model is best, but what happens when the intelligence your agents depend on suddenly changes? Until next time, keep questioning not only how intelligent systems work, but how resilient they remain when the world around them evolves.